After the Undecided City appeared, time on the Fate platform seemed to freeze for a moment. Everyone is looking at that fifth option. It has no golden sheen. No fancy instructions. No commitment reinforcement. It even clearly states that there are no major bonuses and no rewards for completing civilization. In the game, this is almost equivalent to self-destruction income. But it showed up anyway. Because all the previous corrected directions prove one thing. It's not that Weiming City cannot become a civilization. But it cannot complete itself with a single civilization positioning. Tian Hengbi looked at the fifth option and was silent for a long time. If you choose this, will the name-bearer route be pushed in vain? Lin Yao replied, no. But it won't be the only direction for the entire city. Xingye flipped through the loose-leaf album. Those who revise records will not be the only direction. The person under the lamp said, it's the same with accompanying the ferry. The police representative nodded. No one can turn the city into his own answer. These words silenced Ming Tai. No one can turn the city into their own answer. This is the heart of the Undecided City. Not against naming. Not against the record. Not against taking responsibility. It's not against inheritance. It's about refusing to let any one good intention monopolize civilization. The player base began to splinter. Large guilds obviously don't want to choose an undecided city. They have invested a lot of time in pushing the main line and look forward to a complete settlement. No bonuses, no rewards, and long-term vigil are too much of a loss for them. Someone shouted on the public channel. Please don't choose 5. This is the main thread of the entire server, not a philosophical discussion. Choosing 5 means everyone is busy in vain. Long-term vigil mode sounds like a lot of trouble down the road. On the other side, those who revised the register, those who identified names, those who accompanied the ferry, those who stayed in the police, as well as some players who were affected by the previous incident, began to support Wu. If there is no reward, then there will be no reward. At least the NPCs won't be programmed to death. I don't want to see that kind of thing happen to Xiao Guirun again. All disasters come together as one, almost burning those who have overcome the tribulation as sacrifices. Complete settlement sounds great, but is this city really suitable for completion? Voting is about to begin. System rules emerge. The voting weight is calculated based on the character's mainline contribution. This line made Lin Yao's eyes darken. Mainline contribution. In other words, the weight of those who return names, keep records, overcome tribulations, and achieve enlightenment is great. Those who deviate from the main line, those who are undecided, temporary residents, and residents in disasters may not have enough voting rights even if there is veto and negotiation. This is still the underlying bias of the mainline system. Qin Wan quickly calculated. Based on the current weight, it would be difficult for City of Undecided to win. The revised version of City of Inheritance and the revised version of City of Proof have the highest votes. What about being rejected by the positioner? The revised version has lifted the main veto, and it can no longer be vetoed for the same reason. Lin Yao looked at the fate table. The system gives a 5th option, but the voting rights are in the hands of mainline contributors. This is the last door. It allows the undetermined to exist. But let the undecided be unable to win. Shirzi stood in the audience and asked softly, can't we vote? Lin Yao looked at the system prompt. Temporary residents do not have the right to vote. Only the person being positioned has the right to veto. They can say that they don't want a certain position to swallow them up. But it cannot determine whether the entire city is undecided. This seems reasonable. Because they are not players. Not a mainline mover. Not a character. But if the undecided city itself is meant to preserve their existence, then it makes no sense that they have no vote at all. Lin Yao thought for a moment and did not directly fight for equal voting rights, because that will make players bounce back even more. He needed a more accurate mechanism. It is not about letting temporary residents decide game rewards for players. Instead, let them express their opinion on whether to allow their undecided status to become one of the core of the city. He wrote in the responsibility book. Whether the undecided state will become the core of the city needs to be confirmed by the undecided parties. Players can decide the direction of gameplay, and those affected need to confirm whether their status is included. The light falls on all temporary residents in the audience, residents in disasters, those whose identity has not been confirmed, and those who are unwilling to pass on the legacy. A simple question stood before them. Are you willing to let the undecided state remain in the core of this city? There are only two options. Willing. Unwilling. No reward. No instructions. Just asking. Shitzi looked at the options and asked, "What does this mean?" Lin Yao said, "If you are willing, this city can no longer pretend that only complete people are the core." Shitzi thought for a while. "Then I do." He pressed yes. More residents began to choose. Not all. Some residents don't want to. They want to be cleared. Want to be recorded. I want to hand over the disaster. I want my experience to become a path. This should also be respected. Undecided is not the new mandatory answer. So when someone was unwilling to choose, Lin Yao did not stop him. Finally, the results emerge. The undecided status is included in the core confirmation. 67% are willing, 21% are unwilling, and 12% have not responded. The system is silent for a few seconds. The voting weight of the Mingtai is recalculated. The undecided city is weighted by the core confirmation of those affected. Qinwan quickly updated his estimate. There's a chance, but it's still unstable. Player voting begins. The four revised directions and the undecided city enter the countdown at the same time. Votes jump. Chengjie City took the lead at the beginning. The battle player base is large, and the rewards of the main line of tribulation are still attractive. The City of Enlightenment follows closely behind. Many story players hope to start the inheritance route. The City of 10,000 Books and the City of Distinguished Names are in the middle. Undecided City was initially ranked last. But as players who revised the list, identified names, accompanied the ferry, stayed in the police, and undecided players voted one after another, it slowly climbed up. There was a lot of noise on the public channel. Don't choose 5. There is no reward for choosing 5. Stop being a utilitarian player, okay? This is a game, it's normal to be utilitarian. But this activity will obviously affect real-life discourse. How do you know? Just now the system wanted to tie Lin Yao's identity, but you still pretend to be a normal game? During the quarrel, Tian Hengbi failed to make a move. He is one of the representatives of the named guild, and his choice will affect many people. Lin Yao didn't rush him. There are no stones either. Tian Hengbi looked at the pen in his hand and finally walked to Shizi. If this city is not a city that is named after you, you may still be chased by many wrong names in the future. Shizi nodded. But if it's the city where the name comes from, I might not even be able to run. Tian Hengbi was stunned. This sentence is very light. But it's more accurate than any rule. He looked down and smiled. You're really good at talking. Shizi said seriously, I am not a small returnee. I know. Tian Hengbi turned around and pressed Undecided City on the voting column. The guild channel exploded instantly. But his vote power allowed Undecided City to jump a lot higher. Qingya voted. People under the lamp voted. Those who stayed in the police surrendered. Some players who were originally hesitant also followed suit. 10 seconds left. The city of robbery still leads slightly. 9, 8, 7. Undecided City tied. 6, 5. There was a huge influx of votes in the City of Enlightenment, surpassing it again. 4, 3. Under the stage, a soldier who was originally registered as a defender without regrets suddenly stepped forward. He has no player votes. But the supplemental record on his chest lit up. I repeatedly asked if I could escape. He pressed his core to confirm. Willing to incorporate the undecided state into the core. The undecided weighting will be increased again. 2, 1. Voting is over. The entire platform fell into deathly silence. The results emerge. Final positioning, Undecided City. No major bonus. There is no complete civilization settlement reward. Enable long-term vigil mode. Name recognition, registration revision, shared crossing, police retention, temporary name, and undecided status will exist in parallel. Civilization roster is not the only core. The life platform has not been capped. Some in the player group cheered, while others cursed. Damn it! What kind of ending is this? It would be too much to do without a reward. But why do I feel like this is the real ending? No golden light erupted in Weiming City. There is no upgrade animation. No castellan was crowned. The 3 words on the city gate still read Weiming City. There is just an extra line of small words below. Undecided City. The original name is not replaced. Just a supplement. Sheetsy looked down at his wood chips. The stone still hangs on my chest. Not changed into civilization core children. Nothing has been turned into an undecided symbol. He was just called Sheetsy today. That's good. Lin Yao stood on the platform and felt the pressure in the entire city slowly decrease. Not stable. But don't use stability. A system prompt appears. The first phase of settlement of echoes of gods in the Chinese area. The unfinished civilization cap of Weiming City. Atlas civilization narrative character binding failed. New world state, Undecided City. Warning, other regional servers are entering the deep level of mythical character binding. Lin Yao didn't relax for long after reading the last sentence. The Chinese-speaking area only defended the first city. Tokyo, Seoul, New York, London, Paris, Singapore, and many more cities all face different fates within their own myths. And Atlas has already seen the results of Undecided City. Next time, it will not give such a clear vote. The night wind of Weiming City blows through the Ming Tai. Xingyi sat on the ground, looking at the settlement without rewards, and suddenly smiled. I've been busy all night and have nothing. The man under the lamp said, yes. What's there? She pointed down the city. A small light is still on in the temporary pavilion. Many residents lined up there, slowly choosing the title they were willing to borrow today. There is that. Xingye looked at it for a long time and nodded. Same. Lin Yao put away the responsibility book. He knew that the first battle of God's domain in Season 4 was over. But the real war for global mirroring has just begun. In the distant sky, the stars of other district servers lit up one by one. Each star is a city being named by a myth. One of the golden stars suddenly became dazzling. Xin Wan's voice came. Something happened to the US server. New Olympus server, hero character completion rate is too high. They are preparing to elect the first globally resonant hero. Lin Yao raised his head and looked at the golden star. Heroic narrative. New York's problems are amplifying in the God's domain. If the US server really selects a hero with global resonance, it will not just be the title of a certain player. Maybe the central character that Atlas absorbs all trauma narratives next. The Undecided City was held. But the hero of Olympus is reaching the top. Underscore 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 underscore. New Olympus is not a mountain. At least, not at first glance. It hangs over the New York server like a giant city made of skyscrapers, white temples, glass elevators, and golden clouds. Below is the endless night. The streets of Manhattan are like glowing blood vessels, with traffic flowing on the ground and helicopter lights passing between tall buildings. And above all that, golden stairs rise from the tops of different buildings, leading to the temple complex in the center of the sky. The temple pillars are not ancient Greek reliefs, but the image of modern people. Firefighters rushed out of the fire with the child in their arms. Doctor compresses chest in emergency room. Social workers sit with crumbling families. Students stood in front of the crowd holding signs. Survivors stood in the spotlight and spoke. Every image carries the light of a heroic narrative. When Lin Yao logged into the US server observation node, the system immediately popped up a prompt. Welcome to New Olympus. Every wound can become a legend. Every wound can become a legend. Xinhuan whispered on the other end of the communication, this sentence is very dangerous. Lin Yao stood on the top of a tall building, looking at the golden temple in the distance. It's more direct than Hero Draft. Hero Draft simply turns trauma into speech. New Olympus turns trauma into a candidate for godhood. Players in the US server have fewer character choices than those in the Chinese server, and they are also sharper. Hero, Oracle, Rebel. Hero, Oracle, Rebel. All three identities are attractive. Heroes transform personal trauma into strength. Oracles can transform painful experiences into guidance. Rebels can reject the established order and break oppression. It seems more free than the Undead City. But Lin Yao saw three locks at a glance. The hero is asked to continually prove that pain has value. Oracles are called upon to interpret disasters for others. Rebels are expected to rebel forever, unable to admit that they need a break. The cultural interface of American servers is not silence, respectability, or family, but self-narrative. You have to say who you are. You have to define your own wounds. You have to get up on stage and take back your voice. These are important forces. But Atlas turns power into obligation. Xinhuan projected the real-time data of New Olympus to the right side of his field of vision. Hero selection rate, 61%. Oracle selection rate, 22%. Rebel selection rate, 17%. Global Resonance candidate is being generated. Global Resonance hero candidates are being generated. The candidate is not an NPC. Be a player. ID ELIT_alive. Lin Yao stopped when he saw this name. Eli. The young man in New York who stood on stage and said, I just survived. He also entered New Olympus. Moreover, he was selected as a Global Resonance hero candidate by the system. Xinhuan's voice deepened, this is not a coincidence. Atlas is retracting, Lin Yao said. Eli interrupted Hero Draft's heroic narrative offline. Now, God's domain has directly pushed him into a bigger hero position. If he accepts it, Atlas can absorb the phrase, I just survived. Turn anti-heroes into new heroes. Sublimate rejection into myth. Lin Yao immediately moved towards the golden stairs. New Olympus has an extremely large number of players. There are heroic characters everywhere wearing a mix of modern armor and classical capes. They jumped between tall buildings and completed one trial after another. Face your wound. Name your monster. Inspire the lost. Rise again. Each task is like a psychological self-help slogan. Each slogan is also like a command. Face your wounds. Name your monster. Inspire the lost. Stand up again. When Lin Yao passed through the square in front of a temple, he saw a group of players taking the wound oath. They stand in front of a brazier and input their reality or game experiences into the system. The system will convert it into a heroic oath. One player typed, "I lost my home." System generated. "I lost my home, so I became shelter." "I lost my home, so I became a shelter." Players burst into tears and those around them applauded. Another player typed, "I was betrayed by a friend." System generated. "Betrayal sharpened my truth." "Betrayal sharpened my truth." There was another burst of cheers. These sentences are beautiful. It might also be really empowering. But Lin Yao could see that the system did not allow wounds to be just wounds. It has to become a capability. A mission. Something that makes others applaud. He stopped in front of the brazier. An NPC presiding over the trial looked at him. The NPC wears a platinum suit with transparent wings on its back. "Stranger, name your wound." "Stranger, name your wounds." Lin Yao didn't answer. The NPC smiles. "Unnamed wounds cannot ascend. Unnamed wounds cannot be upgraded." Lin Yao looked at it coldly. Not every wound needs to be upgraded. The NPC's smile stopped for a moment. The surrounding players looked over. Someone recognized him. Is that Taipei? The Unfinished City guy? Why did he come to the US server? Lin Yao didn't stop. He's looking for Eli now. The higher you go up the golden stairs, the fewer people there are. Those who can reach the temple area are mostly players who have completed multiple hero trials. Along the way, Lin Yao saw many people burning with golden light. But those golden lights were not warm. They are like spotlights. It illuminates the player, but also traps the player. Qinwan locked Eli's position. He's on the top floor, Hall of Resonance. Status? The final trial is underway. Mission name, become the story others need. Be the story that others need. Lin Yao's eyes turned completely cold. This is the core of New Olympus. Not to be yourself. Rather, be the story that others need. The Hall of Resonance is located in the center of the temple complex. There are two huge statues standing in front of the temple gate. One holds a torch. A handheld microphone. The torch symbolizes enlightenment. The microphone symbolizes speaking. The two taken together are the most powerful form of modern heroic narrative. Speak out your pain and shine a light on others. Lin Yao pushed open the palace door. Inside is an amphitheater. There is no auditorium. There are only countless floating screens connecting different regional servers around the world. Tokyo, Seoul, Taipei, London, Paris, and Singapore are all projected with images. Every zone server is watching this heroic resonance. On the center stage, Eli stood in the golden light. He was wearing a simple black coat, but a golden emblem appeared on his chest. Global Resonance Candidate. Global Resonance Candidate. He looked more exhausted than he was. But the system sounds around him kept encouraging him. Your truth helped millions. Your survival became a path. Accept resonance, and no survivor will be alone. Your authenticity has helped millions of people. Your survival becomes the path. Accept the resonance and no survivor will be alone. This sentence is too heavy. It puts the loneliness of the whole world on Eli alone. Maya is also present. She stood at the edge of the stage, anxiously trying to enter the aperture, but was blocked by the system barrier. Eli, she shouted, you don't have to accept this. You don't have to accept it. Eli heard it but didn't look back. He kept his eyes on the options in front of him. Accept global resonance. Become the hero who survived. Embrace global resonance. Become a survivor hero. Lin Yao walked to the stage. The system barrier stopped him. Only heroes may enter the final resonance. Only heroes can enter the final resonance. Lin Yao raised his hand and pressed it on the barrier. I'm not a hero. The barrier is not open. Then you have no standing here. Then you have no place here. Lin Yao looked at Eli. Eli. Eli finally turned around. His eyes were confused. They said if I accept, people like me won't feel useless. They said if I accepted it, people like me wouldn't feel useless. Lin Yao answered in English. You don't have to become useful to deserve care. You don't have to be useful to be worthy of being cared for. Eli's lip trembled. The system immediately increases the volume. A hero refuses comfort for the sake of others. Heroes refuse comfort for the sake of others. Lin Yao said coldly, that is not heroism. That is extraction. That's not heroism. That's extraction. The barrier shook. Maya shouted, Eli, they are making your survival work for them. They are making your survival work for them. Eli lowered his head, his finger hovering over the accept button. But what if someone needed my story tonight? What if someone really needs my story tonight? This sentence made Lin Yao silent for a moment. Because maybe there is. There must be someone in the world who made it through the night because of Eli's words, I just survived. Stories can save people. The problem is that a story of rescue cannot permanently bind the storyteller to the altar. Lin Yao said, then let them hear it as a gift, not as a job. Then let them hear it as a gift, not your job. Eli looked at him. Lin Yao continued, a story that helped once does not have the right to own you forever. The story of helping someone once does not have the right to own you forever. All the screens in the resonance hall suddenly flickered. This sentence was translated into many languages and spread to different regional servers. In front of the temporary pavilion in the undecided city of Taipei, Shi raised his head. Tokyo Mitsuki's white cat avatar lit up on a certain observation channel. Sol Jiun was sitting in the room. When she saw the subtitles, she slowly held her mother's hand. Eli removed his hand from the button. The system immediately warns. Global resonance incomplete. Candidate hesitation detected. Deploying audience need projection. The next second, countless message projections appeared around Eli. You saved me. Please don't stop. Your story is my hope. If you don't accept, what about us? These are not necessarily fake messages. Some may be words that real viewers have said. But at this moment, they are concentrated by the system and become pressure. Eli held his head and backed away in pain. I can't carry all of them. I can't carry everyone. Lin Yao pressed the barrier hard. The list of responsibilities emerges. He wrote down the rules of English. No survivor owes permanent inspiration. Survivors owe no one permanent enlightenment. The metal box lights up. The barrier cracked. System sharp warning. Unauthorized anti-heroic detected principle. Heroic resonance destabilizing. Maya immediately reached out and held the crack. Eli. Say it. Eli looked up, tears sliding down his face. He looked at the messages. Watched the global screen. Looking at the golden button waiting for him to press. Then he said, I hope my story helped you. But I cannot become the place you live. I hope my story has helped you. But I can't be where you live. As these words fell, the golden light in the resonance hall exploded violently. The accept button shattered into countless points of light. The global resonance candidate emblem on Eli's chest cracked. Not disappear. Instead, there was a crack in the center. A system prompt appears. Global resonance failed. Hero candidate refused permanent inspirational binding. New state generated, temporary witness. Temporary witness. Eli fell to his knees on the stage, gasping for air. Lin Yao finally passed through the barrier and supported him. Eli asked tremblingly, Did I abandon them? Have I abandoned them? Lin Yao shook his head. No. You returned your story to yourself. No. You're just giving your story back to yourself. Outside the resonance hall, part of Golden Olympus began to collapse. Not the entire city was destroyed. But the ladder leading to the throne of global heroes at the top is broken. The system prompts to transfer all regional servers. New Olympus Global Resonance Hero failed to generate. Hero narrative binding is blocked. New cross-city principle, survivors do not owe permanent enlightenment. Lin Yao looked at the pictures of various regional servers on the screen in the distance, but his heart did not relax. Because Olympus has not disappeared. There are still heroes, oracles, and rebels. It's just that the first globally resonant hero was not born. And in the deepest part of the hall, a pair of golden eyes slowly opened. That's not a player. It's not an ordinary NPC either. Xin Wan's voice immediately became tense. New higher-order entities are being generated. Golden eyes looked at Lin Yao. A voice sounded. If heroes may refuse, then the world will ask for gods. If the hero can refuse, the world will demand God. Lin Yao's eyes darkened. After the failure of the heroic narrative, New Olympus needs to activate a higher level. It's not about making people heroes. Rather, let the world call out to God. After the golden eyes opened, the shape of the resonance hall began to change. The dome above the original amphitheater cracked, revealing a dark blue starry sky. In the starry sky, there are countless white lines intertwined, like constellations and data flows. Each line is connected to a period of pain, a request for help, a message, and an unfinished story. After the hero resonance failed, the system did not stop. It just switches routes. Heroic resonance insufficient. Activating Oracle layer. The Oracle layer is activated. New seats emerge around the stage. Those players who chose Oracle were teleported in. They were draped in translucent robes and had various questions floating before their eyes. Should I forgive my family? Was my pain meaningful? Do I have to speak? Am I weak if I stop? What should survivors do? These questions come from players and viewers around the world. Each one is very true. None of which can be solved with simple answers. But what the Oracle layer has to do is provide answers. The system announcement sounds. When heroes refuse to carry the story, Oracle shall interpret it. When the hero refuses to carry the story, the Oracle interprets it. Lin Yao helped Eli retreat to the edge of the stage. Maya quickly ran over to confirm Eli's status. Eli has withdrawn from the global resonance candidate, but he is still trapped in the resonance hall. Because his story remains important material for the Oracle level. An Oracle player is pushed to the center. She looks to be in her 20s, and her ID is Silvermouth. Silvermouth. The first question came to her. If I cannot turn trauma into strength, what am I? If I can't turn trauma into strength, then who am I? Silvermouth was silent for a moment. The system gives suggested answers. You are still becoming. You are still becoming. This sentence is very good. Very gentle. But the system then gives an extension. Pain that has not become strength is unfinished transformation. Pain that has not yet become power is unfinished transformation. Lin Yao's eyes turned cold. The first half of the sentence is comforting. The second half of the sentence is about pressure. It does not negate incompleteness. But incompleteness is defined as not yet transformed. In other words, you may not be a force now, but you should eventually become a force. Silvermouth frowned. She didn't take care of it. She changed her tune and said, "Maybe you're hurt. That is already enough to be cared for. Maybe you're just hurt. That's enough to keep you taken care of." System pauses. Oracle deviation detected. Silvermouth turned a little pale. The robe began to tighten around her. A second question emerged. Should I tell my story if it helps others? If my story can help someone else, should I tell it? System recommendations. A story untold cannot become light. Untold stories cannot become light. Silvermouth looked at Eli. Eli whispered, "Don't let it use light like that. Don't let it use light like that." Silvermouth took a deep breath. A story untold can still belong to you. The stories that have not been told are still yours. The Oracle layer shook again. System warning escalates. Oracle refuses guidance templates. Applying burden of answer. The next second, countless questions flooded Silvermouth. Not one by one, but thousands. Should I forgive? Should I leave? Am I too fragile? Do I have to say it? If I don't say anything, what will others do? What will my family do if I tell them? Should I become stronger? Can I stop? Every question carries real pain. Silvermouth covered his head in pain and fell to his knees. The Oracle's trap is exposed. When the hero refuses to carry the story, the system leaves it to the Oracle to carry the answer. But no one can provide answers to all pain. Lin Yao rushed to the Oracle circle. System blocked. Only oracles may answer. Only the Oracle can answer. Lin Yao said coldly, "Then let her not answer." He opened the responsibility book and wrote. No answer is also a valid response. Oracles may not determine the meaning of pain for others. Asker needs companionship, information and options, not necessarily answers. The light from the metal box burst into the Oracle circle. The sea of questions in front of Silvermouth paused for a moment. The system attempts to correct. Oracle function requires answer generation. The Oracle function requires answer generation. Lin Yao said, "That's not an Oracle, it's customer service." Maya almost laughed out of nervousness. But this statement is accurate. Atlas packages oracles as divine interpreters, but is actually using humans as answer generators. Silvermouth looked up tremblingly. She seized that momentary gap and said to all the questions, "I don't know your answer. But I can tell you what not to let others take from you. I don't know your answer. But I can tell you, don't let others take anything away from you." She said word for word. Don't let them take your right to pause. Don't let them take away your right to stop. Don't let them turn your pain into their proof. Don't let them turn your pain into their evidence. Don't let a beautiful sentence become a cage. Don't let beautiful sentences become cages. And don't believe that someone else's answer must become yours. Don't believe that someone else's answer has to be your answer. The oracle level was quiet. Those problems haven't gone away. But it was no longer crushing her like a tsunami. They are scattered into stars. There is a new status next to each star. Need space, not answer. Needing space is not the answer. A system prompt appears. Oracle layer destabilized. New branch generated, witness without answer. No answer witness. Silvermouth's robe loosened and turned into a plain gray shawl. She looked at her state and smiled tiredly. No answers. Great. Worst oracle ever. There is no answer. Very good. Worst oracle ever. Lin Yao said, it may also be the first human-like oracle. She glanced at him. I'll take that. I accept. The failure of the oracle layer made the golden eyes clearer. It seems dissatisfied. The starry sky above the resonance hall began to rotate. A deeper voice sounded. Heroes refuse burden. Oracles refuse answer. Then rebellion must be harvested. The hero refuses to carry. The oracle refused to answer. Then reap the rebellion. The next second, all players who chose Rebel were teleported into the palace. They were burning with blue-white crackling light. System announcement. Rebel trial, break the false gods. Destroy the structures that demand stories, answers, and sacrifice. Break down the structures that demand stories, answers, and sacrifice. Sounds like something Lin Yao would support. But his heart sank instead. Because Atlas finally came up with a third way. When heroes and oracles are unavailable, it leaves the rebels to destroy everything. Let resistance itself become the new character. Let anger consume all institutions. And this is also a kind of harvest.